Have you ever considered that we are living in a unique time, that something world-changing is about to happen, and that it might concern you? If so, you're in the right place. Keep listening, and you'll hear thought-provoking views behind the news that point to a new and better future for all. Many people now sense that humanity is not alone. So consider this. If the Christ or the Buddha walked among us today as modern men, would we recognize them? What would they be saying? And most importantly, would we listen? Every Sunday on this program, Share International Radio will examine extraordinary events that are unfolding behind the headline news. This may be the message of hope you've been waiting for. And now, welcome to this week's show.
Colin, your co-host today for Share on the Air Radio, the show with provocative views behind the news. Today we have a very special guest, Lars Graf, a technologist who will be speaking to us. He is a software entrepreneur, previously based in the Silicon Valley and born in Germany. And he focuses on social entrepreneurship. He is the CEO of a company called CU Link, just like CU Alligator. Later, CU Link. And this is a company that allows elderly people to use computers and keep active as simply as they would flick on a light and touch a screen. Imagine that for all the, well, not even elderly people that are technophobe, but no need for mice, no need for keyboards, no need for any computer skills, whatever, and bringing the whole world of the internet and online to a whole class of people who are very often disprivileged in that sector. You can find out more about Lars' company at culink.com. Lars is also a student of esotericism, a trained Waldorf teacher, and a member of the Share International Network. A Christian by birth, he practices a traditional Buddhist form of meditation, and so he gathers many, many gifts. Before I welcome Mars, though, I would... Mars. Excuse me today. Before I welcome Lars, I would like to fill in a couple of points for anyone who is a newcomer to our show. We basically have three premises: that we, humanity, are not alone, that we have help from extraordinary teachers and guides at this time of great transition in the world into a new and supportedly better future, and that at the head of those teachers and guides stands the world teacher Maitreya, Maitreya, who is the world teacher for humanity in general, but also the one expected by all the great religions under their particular name. And therefore he is the Christ for the Christians, the Messiah for the Jews, the Imam Mahdi for the Muslims, etc. So we believe that he is here, and he is here to guide us with a group of enlightened beings called the Masters of Wisdom into this new age. Now, Maitreya's priorities, as stated by himself and also by the chief spokesperson for him, Benjamin Creme in London, England. That's creme as in creme de la creme. Maitreya's chief priorities for the world are very simple. They are adequate food, shelter, education, and health care for everyone in the world. And to date, not one country has managed to procure that basic wherewithal for everyone. Lars, on the other hand, makes an extraordinary claim, and that is that we have both the technology and the knowledge to solve most of the world's most pressing problems already today, and to be implementing now, not in the future, but now, these great priorities of Maitreya. So an extraordinary statement, and I cannot wait to welcome you, Lars, to the program so you can tell us more about this. Welcome, Lars.
Hello, Diana. Thank you for having me on the program. Um, I work in technology. I start companies, and I have to keep up to date. And um, a few months ago, I was asked to talk about my highest priority to a religious audience. And instead of focusing on the person, I try to focus on the priorities and what the world will be like if we implement these priorities of food, shelter, healthcare, and education throughout the world. And when I started looking at what this world would look like, I found, wait a second, we can solve this one already. We can solve that one already. And all the things that we need to do are really already in our hands. We already have the know-how on that. And that was actually a really surprising experience for myself, because I always expected, oh, it's a future. It can't be done. We need outside help for this. But that really was quite remarkable.
Well, indeed. Well, let me play devil's advocate here a little bit, Lars, and start with the obvious. How do we cure or solve world hunger in a world of plenty?
Well, it's, as you said, it is a world of plenty. And from the information that I have is we have about 10% more food in the world than we need to feed the people. The problem is the food is not distributed properly. And much of it is rotting in the grain silos of the Western industrialized nations. And when you look at our logistics chains in countries where grocery stores and have to throw a lot of food away because it's not just perfect for the consumer, it's not that we don't have enough food in the world to feed everyone. The question is, how do we get it to the people who need it most? Okay, and that's what we call logistics. It's the moving of things and people to where they are needed. And it turns out, if we had a problem in the world and the United States believed they needed to send a couple 100,000 soldiers to that problem area anywhere in the world, the United States could probably do that in a few weeks to a few months and move these people and feed them there and do whatever is necessary to accomplish what they want there. And that is a really complicated thing, to move hundreds of thousands of soldiers. At the same time, we have companies like Amazon or FedEx, or in Asia, Alibaba, that have the ability to put products and packages on the doorstep of most people around the world. Okay, so
yeah, and we don't bat an eyelash about those things, do we? They are definitely ingrained.
Yeah. So we take it for granted. It's so obvious. So if anybody says we cannot feed people, where on one part of the world we have enough food, and in other places we have people literally dying of hunger and malnutrition, that's not a correct statement. We can do it. We have the know-how to do it because we have proven it so many times. So we actually do have the ability and the technology to feed people. We're just not using it.
Well, as you say, it's a logistics problem rather than a supply problem. Okay, well, let's move on to another very glaring problem in the world today. What have you got to say about terrorism? How can we prevent that?
Well, if you really think about it, terrorism is a disease of desperation. Okay? It's when you grow up as a young man and you have family members starving. They don't have any hope. Your family may have been a victim of violence, whether it's government violence or otherwise. And you are at a complete sense of desperation because there's absolutely no future, no hope for you. Then you are open as a target to be recruited by radical elements. It doesn't matter what religion and what group. It's been, throughout history, desperate young men can get recruited into violent actions. Now, if we implement food, shelter, healthcare, and education, and we really have people fed, they are taken care of, there's housing, adequate housing, and they have a perspective in the future. So if this same angry young man suddenly finds that he has an education, he has the ability to make a living and marry, to build a family, and has the expectation that his children will be able to also live dignified and safe and meaningful lives. Will this young man strap bombs on himself and blow himself and others around him up with it? Absolutely not. Okay.
Well, this is true, terrorism, and there's a sign there of the oneness of humanity seen by the other side. I mean, we want to think of our enemies as part of the one human family, and this is our enemies thinking of us as part of that same human family as well, because we all want the best for our children.
And if we give them these tools, I mean, terrorism, I mean, you will always have fanatics trying to stir up problems. But you have to have support for that, and you have to have people willing to engage in those acts, and you have to have financial support for that. And if people are happy and satisfied, it's going to be really hard to raise a terrorist army and to do violence.
Right, which takes us to the solving wars, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's an interesting one, okay? Because, wars are really acts when one country or a dictator in one country decides to move against his neighbor or her neighbor and to do acts of violence against their own people, okay? Now, we actually have means that, this is a very common problem. In the United States, quite some time ago, we had problems with civil rights. There were states and local counties and towns that did not regard certain minorities as full beings with the same rights. And in the United States, we solved the problem through a federal court system and federal legislation with a federal police that could step in, even if the officials in those towns or counties don't respect those rights. It's what we call the civil rights legislation, civil rights actions. Okay, we can hold them responsible. This is very workable on an international and global basis also. We need an international court system and international rules that we all agree to, and not just the couple veto nations in the UN Security Council, that we make rules that really apply to everyone and every country.
And we already have international courts.
Absolutely. The international courts we have at the moment are by the World Trade Organization, among other things. It's the commercial courts where countries can be sued. But they're not protecting the rights of the human beings. They're protecting the rights of corporations. But we also have international courts for war crimes and crimes against humanity. We already have some of these things in place to make that possible. We just need to use them.
All right. But we'll talk more on the other side of the break, Lars. Thank you very much for this very interesting introduction to what the world might look like with Maitreya's priorities solved, and beginning that even in our own lifetimes with technology and knowledge available.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Every night, when the skies are clear, a remarkable event can be witnessed. A UFO the size of 5 football fields is moving through the skies just like a star. It pulses, it blinks, it changes color. This spacecraft appeared before as the Star of Bethlehem. Find out what it all means. Visit shareontheairradio.org. That's shareontheairradio.org.
Are you ready to shift your energy, consciousness, and limiting beliefs? Join me, Shefali Burns, every Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern on Shifting with Shefali here on OMTimes Radio. Shift the blocks, limitations, and negative energies that have kept you from experiencing a life filled with joy, peace, love, abundance, and happiness. Are you ready to shift with Shefali? Are you ready to shine your brilliance?
Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Have you been searching for a perspective beyond the mainstream? Check it out. Join your hosts Cielito Pascual and Diana Gold Holland on Share International Radio for thought-provoking views behind the news, Sundays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio. You can also find us at shareontheairradio.org. This may be the message of hope you've been waiting for.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
sorry, I think we were off the air there for a second, and now we're back.
I'm right here too.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't hear anything there. So, Lars, I was just mentioning that getting rid of war and aggression in the world would open up trillions and trillions of dollars every year that can be put towards food and shelter and education and technology. That is not such an outlandish proposition. I mean, we could irrigate a whole African country for the cost of one of these fighter bombers in America. So I can see where, again, it's a problem of distribution, and we could very easily begin to solve that. Now, Lars, you say that the advance of technology is now unstoppable. From your background as a technologist, why don't you tell us a bit about that? What kind of recent advances you're seeing that most people don't know about?
So one of the things I was looking at energy. I believe there will be free and clean energy if various priorities are implemented, and it turns out we have the capability already. And that was really surprising to me because I actually live in Germany now. And I've been living in Germany for the past 5 years after nearly 30 years in the United States. And it's an interesting thing is happening. Germany has really focused on solar and wind power. And is actually turning off all of its nuclear power plants. They have really made a decision, and within a few years, all nuclear power plants will be shut down, period. And they have done programs to support the creation of wind and solar. And the power companies have a real problem in the United States, in Germany here. For example, in southern Germany, there is a power plant. It's literally €1 billion, which is roughly $1 billion power plant that is the most modern state-of-the-art gas power plant there is at the moment, and it's being decommissioned before it actually has been put into use. Because they don't have enough need for power for the gas power because so much is being produced through wind and solar. Okay, and that is really truly remarkable that can be done in a highly industrialized country where where power is really, really critical. So the power companies here literally have to try to figure out new value-added services other than power generation, because wind and solar is highly distributed. I have solar panels on my roof, and I sell the power back to the power company at really mandated rates, and I'm protected for 20 years at this particular rate.
You sell your power back?
Yes, literally. I sell my power back, and whatever power I use, I actually get paid for and more than it would cost me to buy it from the power company. So it's really a remarkable system. I can invest in solar panels, put them on roof, and many people do this, and I'm protected for 20 years at a certain buyback rate. And so I can make a sensible economic investment, and it also helps the country be green. Our trains, for example, and we have a fantastic train system in Germany, run on green energy. So our public transport it's green. And I did not think, coming from the United States after 30 years, that something like this is possible, but it is. We have enough solar power, we have wind power, we can actually do this. And there's no reason why in countries like the United States and many other countries around the world, this can't be accomplished in the same way.
Wow, we're really sounding backwards on this side of the pond.
Yeah, it's really remarkable. I lived in California. In California, you have a couple, solar, a couple wind farms, and this looks so cool to have dozens of windmills and hundreds. In Germany, when you drive through the countryside, every little town has one of those. Mm-hmm. I mean, a town with 5,000 people has dozen windmills allocated, and they have their own wind farm in there. It's just a different mindset, and it can be done, and there's no reason from technology or even economics why it can't be achieved.
Well, there are reasons, political and such, and we'll go into those in our final segment, but I fear that there are powers that be that will not be too happy about some of these changes that would benefit these countries, because otherwise we would have implemented them and be right up there with you in Germany and other advanced countries of Europe. Be that as it may, we have Tesla cars here, and I believe you were telling me about robots that can sort boxes in China.
Well,
Things
so
like
there's...
that.
Yeah, there's a very, very significant change that's happening to our economic system right now. It's been on the horizon for the past 5 years, very possible in the research areas. Many people in the outside world don't know about this yet. It's just trickling into the press, and it's that of robotic automation, where these robots used to be very stupid, just in like big factories where they move. You had to program an arm very precisely from one location, move it to the next. You had to put these robots in cages because they could move and might hurt people. It turns out this is not the case anymore. These robots are becoming semi-smart. That means they can start seeing the environment and sensing what's there. So a simple action for a human, like picking a glass off the table and putting it into the dishwasher, is a really, really complicated act of artificial intelligence, of life intelligence. Mm-hmm. And for a robot, until very recently, this would have been a really difficult thing to do that required supercomputers and those things. But these robots are coming now into the mainstream. This is actually happening. There's a company called Foxconn, which is the manufacturer probably of all iPhones and most other phones. It's the largest manufacturer in China and Taiwan, that is replacing 300,000 low-paid workers with 1 million robot arms. And a robot used to cost about $250,000 each. These prices are going down to $10,000 to $20,000. Okay, so this is a fundamental shift. Whole industry groups and whole job classes will change and will be eliminated, which initially will sound very scary, but there actually is a light on the horizon there. But let's look at transportation. Many of you probably have heard of the Google car. It's a car that drives itself, that has driven over 1 million miles, accident-free, actually better track record than actually humans can do it. Tesla, the company founded by PayPal co-founder Elon Musk, has actually just enabled a software update that allows cars to drive themselves as a driver assist feature. The driver is still fully responsible, just like cruise control, but it's actually driving itself from place to place.
Hey, I'll take one of those.
I'd love them too. They're still a little expensive. I think they're around the $60,000 to $80,000 range, but they're coming down into, I believe, into the $25,000. This is what the plan for the next areas are. So now imagine if you have self-driving cars that don't need people to drive. And this is reality. This is not science fiction. It's ships now. It's running on highways. Daimler-Benz is testing trucks, self-driving trucks on German highways right now.
Wow.
Okay? This is reality. This is not science fiction. I would not have expected this soon, but it is here right now. So imagine how many jobs you have in the transportation area: taxis, truck drivers, train drivers. Any of these things. We are now using technologies on the road that advanced airplanes, jetliners do, where they can basically, start, fly, and land themselves automatically with just pilots really just supervising. Okay, and that's what's in our cars now. Okay, so this is a complete transformation of our economic system, where many classes of work will just no longer be necessary. This does not just mean low-level industrial jobs or transportation jobs. Even professional jobs like medical, like doctors. There are actually surgery robots that are going from teleoperated surgery, which has been around for a while, into automatic surgery, where soon you'll be in a position where you get an appendix taken out. It will actually be a robot that can do this, and probably can do it safer and more accurately than any human being can ever do this himself.
Really?
Yes. These things are very real. These are happening. You have with Watson, which is an IBM research processor computer, which you may have heard from Jeopardy and other things, to do medical diagnosis. Now imagine you're in a third world country. You have like in Africa, where you actually have wireless internet, and you're on your smartphone or on a very cheap tablet. You get diagnosed, you get asked questions about your illness because you're in a village that does not have access to a doctor because the doctor is two days walk away. And imagine on that little iPad tablet, you have the ability, just like diabetes blood tests, take a drop of blood and to do a full blood test on yourself, not just blood sugar, but like the complete blood test that you now have to send into the lab. These technologies do exist. They're in the labs right now. So you could actually diagnose a person in a rural community in another country with poor access to doctors and be able to actually do lab tests and those things. There's so many things that are happening through automation and through communications that fundamentally change the models. Most of the stock transactions are done by software robots. It's basically robots trading with each other. We human beings really are just spectators in that process. Stock analysis, and financial reports often are already written by software robots. Okay, and this goes on and on and on. So we're going to be pretty soon in a world where work in terms of making a living or to supply the economy with goods and services that we need to consume is actually optional because it will have been automated. And it's sort of like when we went from the agrarian age where we had like 95% of all people work in food production and we moved to the Industrial Revolution. This is what's happening to us now, but at another level.
And soon we will know more about it. Lars will continue on the other side of the break. Please, listeners, stay with us for this most interesting view on the future happening now.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Want to help build the coming golden age? Want to experience the Aquarian energies of love, light, and power? Transmission meditation is a simple way for you and 2 or more friends to do just that and accelerate your own spiritual growth at the same time. Check out transmission meditation at shareontheairradio.org. That's shareontheairradio.org.
Hey ladies, do you want to have that good hair day feeling all the time? Gentlemen, would you want your special someone to have that glow, letting you know she's feeling completely satisfied? This feeling and that glow can be yours by embracing your sexual power. So join me, Rachel Kenley, award-winning romance author, on the O-Spot. The O-Spot will guide you to that peak with guest interviews, book discussions, and conversations on the thrills of sexual empowerment. Put the zing back in your life. Come up and see me sometime on the O-Spot, live on Hump Day at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Hi, this is Julie Geigel.
I'm Maggie Chula.
And I'm Catherine Glass.
And we're the Psychic Angel Channelers. Join us every week here on OMTimes Radio for Angel Talk Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time.
The angels have heard your call and are here to help.
Are you ready to receive?
Remember your magnificence with Angel Talk Tuesday.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio.
Welcome back again, listeners. We are talking with Lars Graf, a social entrepreneur and technologist who is filling us in on a future that is actually occurring now behind the scenes on the technological front. Very exciting things. Now, Lars, you say we have that the advance of technology is unstoppable, that we have technology to solve a lot of our problems, but of course it also requires knowledge and wisdom as well. So let's go into the story of Elon Musk and how he is applying knowledge to bring about the implementation of these technologies and advancements.
Yeah, if you don't know Elon Musk, he was one of the co-founders of PayPal and was very successful, of course, financially at that level. But instead of just going and sitting back and golfing and buying yachts, he actually chose some very challenging goals. And he chose to make the electric car happen. And it started with the company Tesla. And he created some fundamental new technologies, and did things that people said is absolutely impossible to do, to create cars that can drive a long distance. He created new battery technologies. He really changed the scape. And it's an example of capitalism at work. He is a capitalist. He is an entrepreneur. He's one person who is actually changing the world of transportation and oil use for transportation. He got help by the government because Tesla would not have made it without a close to $500 million loan guarantee. So there's some cooperation between government and private industry. But essentially, Tesla has Detroit scared. It has Germany scared, and it has Japan scared, the car industries in those countries, because he's doing things that just haven't been done before. From what I understand is Tesla works very closely with Solar Cities, which is the largest solar company in the United States, which I believe he's also involved in, or family members are. And they have gas stations, Tesla recharge stations, which are free. So if you buy a Tesla, you get to drive on free solar power.
Wow.
No more oil, no more pollution, and tremendous amount of services and the business model that has so drastically changed. It is literally, he's revolutionizing the automobile industry. And with it, of course, the oil and the power, the fossil fuel industry that goes with it, that's driven by transport. So it's really quite a remarkable example of what one person can do with the right motivation, right capital, and the know-how to build businesses and to change the way we think.
You know, this makes me think of some of the predictions of author Benjamin Creme on the future, based on his information that he receives from one of these perfected masters of wisdom that works with Maitreya. He talks, for example, in his books, which you can find out more about at share, SHARE-international.org. Benjamin Creme's 16 or 17 books are available there, and several of them are available for free download. So check it out if you like, and you will find Creme talking about an era of tranquility and peace in exact proportion to the era of discord we have now, and that leading to things like the replacement of the worst areas of slums and decaying buildings in towns by adequate housing and parkland on a human scale. He's talking, as you have been, Lars, about transportation and these modes of transportation being devised that are so silent and apparently motionless that travel fatigue will disappear. He's talking about the reduction of tension and fear leading to much better health in mankind when all of these, sources of vulnerability are lessened, and we've talked about that as well. He's talking about the use of nuclear power, a safe, cold power, cold fusion, and a wasteless wasteless processes to bring about future power needs. So very much on the same track. And I just want to go back again to playing devil's advocate, and you were talking about no more pollution and abuse of natural resources, especially when we get rid of the fossil fuel industry. So that's great. Why don't you tell us a bit about your own company, Lars, and how that is working and to revolutionize the world?
I left Germany when I was 16 to go to the United States and emigrate there by myself. My mom stayed back, and as my mom was aging, I was becoming an adult in my middle years. I was trying to stay in touch, and I couldn't find products to allow it to do that, because my mom is computer illiterate. She's from a generation, which still in her age many people are, that have never used a computer before. And since I couldn't find a product, and I'm an entrepreneur, I look for market opportunities. I created a product around that. It's called CeoLink, and it allows senior adults be able to essentially join the connected world that we all take for granted without ever knowing what a mouse is, because for many seniors, a mouse is actually a little furry animal that really is not supposed to be in the house. Okay, and what we do is, they push a button, on this thing. It comes up as pictures. They push pictures of their loved ones, and they get video connection established. And when they can do that, and they get a little comfortable by that, then you can show them home videos from the grandkids, photos, as well as connect them to Skype, as connect them to Facebook with their grandchildren, up to entertainment, movies and games, which remarkably the elders really love to play. And it's really funny to see my mom, going at it, as well as, medical services. You can connect to healthcare providers and online therapies, through brain games and those things. And so we're trying to take elder people and really connect them into the world that they have become isolated from, because most of us live an online life now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so do you think this might have applications in helping lessen the approach or the onset of Alzheimer's and things like that, I presume?
Yes, we actually have some mental games in there that train memory and retention and all these things that can really be used for therapeutic purposes. So it's putting a therapeutic services directly into the home of the elder person, and also allows the family members to check in on them really easily. It's really there to overcome isolation, whether it's at home or in care facilities, which is unfortunately, I have to say, a really sad picture when you go there. And I go there professionally a lot. A lot of people, if you're lucky, they get wheeled in front of a television, and we try to give them the ability. And again, I start with my mom, to be able to connect to family members. And when you see in a grandma seeing her grandchild for the first time, newborn, because they live in another country, and they are all in tears, it is really just a wonderful experience. It's really, this is the use of technology to connect people and to bring them together. Wow.
So give us the link to your company's site again, Lars.
It's CuLink, all written out, .com, CuLink.com.
Okay, and that's like see you later, alligator.
Yes.
Okay. And, I did go and take a peek at the video you had introducing your company, and they were showing one, a yoga session or an exercise session, I'm not sure which, that was going on in one senior's home, and they were able to beam the complete classroom environment over to another senior's home that did not have as many resources. It was a poorer facility, and yet they were having exactly the same quality of attention. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really great when you see it, and it can make a tremendous difference in people's lives, and it brings families so much closer together. It's really special.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure that there are other populations besides the elderly that your kind of application can be retrofitted to. I think there's a great future in that, and I wish you all the best with it, Lars. I'm sure it will get implemented in Europe before it does here, unfortunately, but hopefully we're not that far behind. I want to go back before we end, though, to, two areas, one of them being the fact of all this displacement of the work world and the no need to work for physical survival anymore. I'm not quite sure what we're going to do with all those people, but tell us how you see this working out, that there'd be no need to work for physical survival anymore.
Okay, so this sounds really scary at first. If you think about it, it's imagine if you don't need to work. So if you don't need to work, how do you make a living? It turns out the quality of life is not determined by work in an economy. It's actually determined by the number of goods and services you can produce. And the more of those you can produce, the better the economy is off and the better the lifestyle is. It's now a distribution problem. How do you get goods and services to people who don't work? And in Europe, you have a very strong social system where you are basically guaranteed. Like in Germany, you're guaranteed an apartment, you're guaranteed food, you're guaranteed healthcare, and you're guaranteed education. And you have a dignified life. There's no such thing as living on the streets that you have to. So what you need is essentially you need a social system that lets the people that don't work still have the dignified life in it, and it can be done through concepts like universal base income, which is being tested in some countries, where you take the cost of welfare and just divide it evenly across all people and just give them that money. And it's remarkable results come in it. It's still early. The United States will be really, really difficult because of the ideological principle of work and capital and deserving and non-deserving. In Europe, it will be an easy transition, but the method and the possibilities for doing it are there, even from the social structure. But it has to be implemented. But again, the United States will be lagging on that one. It will be a struggle.
Yeah, there is. I'm sure there will be a certain amount of opposition, especially ideological, to these things in North America, mainly because of the 1%. But let's talk about that, opposition, resistance, and what we can do about it when we come back.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Are you on a spiritual path and want a quick reference guide? Look no further. The booklet Ageless Wisdom Teaching introduces key spiritual concepts, including reincarnation, meditation, and initiation. Download the book free online. Visit shareontheairradio.org for details. That's shareontheairradio.org. shareontheairradio.org.
Have you bought into the idea that you have to work hard for your money, that business is hard? I will share some dynamic access consciousness tools to get you out of your own way so you can create a business that actually succeeds. Join me, Simone Millisers, on The Joy of Business at 4 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Looking for inspiration?
Want to be inspired?
Not sure where to go?
Find Mark and Kim every Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on Inspired Living.
Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience and all things spiritual.
Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. This is Share on the Air Radio with thought-provoking views behind the news. We've been talking certainly of such things with Lars Graf today, a technologist and researcher who has been sharing a view to the not-too-distant future. Lars, all of this is quite wonderful, but as you pointed out, we're lagging behind on this side of the world, and that is because of opposition. What is wrong with this whole scenario? Who would not be happy with these things?
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with this scenario. I think it's a wonderful scenario for us to go forward. But there are certain people that will be resisting it. And there will be certainly resistance will come out of certain industries. Of course, the energy industry, oil, gas, coal, nuclear power, will really not like this kind of work. I mean, we are going already into wars to secure oil rights in other countries. So, I mean, there will be significant resistance. There may also be resistance from religious establishments as these things change, especially as Maitreya comes out. Any religious teachers throughout the ages have been persecuted, whether it was Moses who was kicked out of Egypt or Jesus who was crucified and tortured. And even people didn't like Buddha at times because he was taking the business away from the priests because too many people came over and started sitting and meditating. There will also be some opposition from political leadership, especially from dictators or people who are really trying to hold on to the power. But in democratic countries, and most of the world is actually now democratic, reasonably democratic, it will be the leaders will follow where the people will lead. Our political leaders are not the ones actually leading new changes. It's the people that have to be doing it at the voting booths, and this is a process that does happen and does take place. And so I do have some confidence in it. But there will clearly be opposition, and there are a lot of vested interest on the commercial side. The financial service industry, Wall Street, will be very unhappy about some of these things because they're taking great advantage of the economic system that we have at the moment.
Right. But, even at an individual level, there's always fear of change in people. I mean, especially this idea that we've introduced, of the disappearance of complete industries within the next decade. What are the kind of holdbacks that you think would be significant at the individual level?
Yeah, see, if we can do all these things now. And yes, the technologies are pretty new. Not everybody knows, but if you can do all these things, why are they not happening?
Exactly.
And the first thing is fear. We individually, very naturally, are afraid of change. We are afraid that we have something now that we may lose in the future. Okay, that makes us uncomfortable. There's also complacency, because if you are well fed and you have a roof over your head and you have plenty of mindless entertainment, either on television or on the internet, and you really don't have an interest that much in changing things because it's inconvenient. And we haven't come to the point of enlightened self-interest yet, where we recognize that what happens to someone else is actually related to us also. So there's complacency is still there. And then the real thing is, it's what I call the illusion of separation. We think that we are separate from one another. But it's actually more like, imagine you look at your right hand and you look at put a point on your right hand, you look at a cell, and you see that cell, and you see the cell in your hand saying, hey, listen, I'm so special, compared to the other cells in this hand, I'm really much better. If they were just to work as hard as we do, they would be just as well off, and I have special rights and this is complete ludicrousy. Okay, we think we're separate, but we're not. We're living in a very closely connected world. It's a world connected through communications, through commerce, good or bad, through social forces, terrorism and wars, pollution. All these things are there. We need to learn to work together and to act together. And I believe without this, it will be really difficult to make these changes happen.
Absolutely. I just wanted to mention to our readers that some of those predictions for the future that I mentioned out of Benjamin Krem's books will be posted on our Facebook page, so people can go and take a look at them on Share on the Air Radio on Facebook. Mr. Krem talks about a technology of light and the power of cold fusion that will be some of the gifts given to us to help us in our daily lives. Now, there were some conditions on this, and I think you might have some insight to that too, Lars. When will we get these marvelous gifts of technology, and under what conditions?
Well, I believe what Mr. Krem is saying is that we get them when we end war, so that we can be responsible with those use of technologies. I don't know exactly what these technologies will be, because frankly I see a lot of these things already in place. I keep a lookout for new technologies like zero-point energy and some of these, sort of more fringe esoteric things to see if something is happening there. I haven't seen it, too manifest yet that to be happening. But we need to get our act together. Imagine if we get another technology like nuclear power and we still we haven't ended war yet. This is very, very powerful stuff. We have genetic technologies that are emerging where people can change their own genomes pretty soon, and that of their babies or of organisms. This can also be used to very harmful purposes. We have to get our act together and be responsible, as a world population, as a world humanity.
And one would think that the coming of the world teacher and these the perfected masters who are also emerging with him onto the world scene is very well timed. That it's not a coincidence that this is occurring or has occurred, and the emergence is progressing now. How do you think Maitreya will help us with all of this?
Well, I think the responsibility to make the changes is ours and ours alone. But as we talked about what's holding us back, the fear, complacency, and the illusion of separation, this is the place where a spiritual teacher can make a difference and give us that insight that we really are truly connected, that what happens to the other is happening to us also. It is what can get us out of the complacency to bring that soul wisdom, that soul guidance into our forefront as opposed to the mind-numbing entertainment and the things that we're suffering with. So I see this as, to me personally, as the real purpose of Maitreya is, we have all the tools already, but we need to use them. We need to be inspired and committed to do that. And I think for that, we need an outside nudge that helps us along the way.
So he could actually be the catalyst for this change and encompass the voice of so many people who feel powerless today.
Exactly.
That's pretty big order. But, we invite our listeners to find out more about this, the coming of Maitreya and these other great teachers with him. To do that, you are invited to go to the share-international.org website, where you will find an absolute goldmine of material on this premise if it's new to you, and also a wealth of material that you can follow up with if you are already in the know about some of these concepts. And as you get this information, if it begins to make sense to you, if it has the ring of truth, we invite you, dear listeners, to share this information. Share it with your friends. Share it with your colleagues. Even if your point of conviction is like maybe 5%, this is a possibility. Every little bit of sharing of this information helps create the climate of hope and expectancy into which Maitreya can emerge. These great teachers are not allowed to infringe our human free will. This is one of the great cosmic principles, and therefore they must be invited to come forward. People must desire this, and so that climate of hope and expectancy is very, very necessary, and especially today as the darkness seems to be advancing very rapidly. Another thing that you can find out about on the Share International website is transmission meditation, which is a spiritual practice that can help create the pool of energies with which to create this new world. Lars, could you give us a 2-second wrap-up on transmission?
A 2-second wrap-up on transmission, absolutely. Transmission is probably one of the best ways to serve the world. It is a form of meditation that is very easy. It is done in groups of at least 3 people. And I can highly recommend it. It does not require any special skills. And the instructions to do it, I believe, are online and easily available. It is a way to serve the world, even if you feel, overwhelmed and don't have the means to do otherwise. It really does make a difference. And it is tremendously transforming to oneself. I've been doing this for over 20 years.
Right, and it's the opportunity to work directly with these masters of wisdom in transforming these energies from a higher state down to the level where they can be used in the world. It's kind of like, being a step-down transformer, which of course you know much more about than I do. But these are very powerful energies of love, of synthesis, of peace that can be brought into a pool from which all of humanity can then dip and create the new structures that our technologies are here to allow as well. Just before closing, I don't want us to get it cut off before introducing the next show's guest with co-host Cielito Pascual. She will be interviewing Colorado artist and painter Gina Blickenstaff. And Gina will share her insights on the true purpose of the soul, our role as creative beings, and why the power of sharing will help humanity experience a renaissance of creativity. That's next week, Sunday, same time, same station, on Share on the Air Radio. Contact us via Facebook or info@shareontheairradio.org. Thank you for being with us today, Lars, and thank you, audience. Be well.